Welcome. Hello. Come on in. We're here for our weekly energy oracle forecast. Hope you're doing well. We're taking a look at the week ahead to see what our spiritual weather and energy is going to be like. And currently we are in the counting of the Omer, which I was able to confirm through one of the Zohar lessons today. It is 49 days. And I couldn't remember if the Omer corresponded to the Israelites 40 years in the wilderness, because I couldn't remember how many days it was, if it was 40 or more, and I thought it was more. It was 49. And it's between the splitting of the Red Sea and the giving of the Torah to the Israelites at Mount Sinai. So those days that they traveled from the splitting of the Red Sea on the way to Mount Sinai, the last day is called Shavuot, and it celebrates the day that the Torah was given to the Israelites. So this 49-day period is a period of challenge and testing, like spiritual tests. But it's a very fortunate time because the amount of transformation and revelation and realization and true change that can happen during this time is exponential. So if you can embrace whatever is happening to you in the circumstances of your day, and in a way of thinking, not like, oh, I love that this is happening to me or for me, but realizing it is happening for me, not to me, and that it's not random. Like, this is part of the test. Like, for instance, if we are in like this simulation, and if we think of ourselves as like first person players in a game going through a simulation, it's like each day, everything that happens in our day, there's nothing random. It's all there for a reason, it serves a purpose. There's nothing extra, right? It's not just there to fill space. It's not random. And so it helps us accept what's happening in a new way, rather than just feeling like we're a victim of circumstance. Like, if you're like, okay, there's a reason why this is in the game right now. There's a reason why I am having to navigate this situation in order to build points for the game of life, to overcome my adversary, my opponent, to best myself moving from each level, and to add more light to myself. That's why I love the game, like the old school, like 1980s Super Mario Brothers games, because they're very two-dimensional. It's very simple. They're just like traveling through these levels, these worlds, and they have this constant stream of like challenge they have to navigate around. And then sometimes they can, when they like squash something, they'll become bigger. It'll enhance their size and power. And they'll be big Mario, da, 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 da. And sometimes they'll grab little coins and keys and talismans that will increase their light for a period, right? So it's very metaphorical to life, and to how once we are awakened, active, conscious players in the game, we can start to realize, oh, this is an annoying situation that I'm in, but instead of hating the circumstances and huffing and puffing and adding more suffering onto my plate, I can say, okay, I accept that this is what I'm working with. I don't accept that this is maybe right or just or fair or ideal. I don't have to like it, but I can accept that this is what I'm working with in the moment, right? We're like distinguishing that from saying I'm accepting the moment and I'm going to be complacent in it and give up. Well, I guess it is what it is. I'll just let it be. It's not like an excuse to just throw in the towel and just let it play out. it's just a way to say, okay, this is what we're working with. Now we know how we can start to troubleshoot and be proactive in the situation. Or turn inward, look inward to the self. What's being triggered? What is my emotional response here? How am I reacting, or how is my reflexes wanting me to react in the situation? And what does that tell me about my patterns? Are my self-defeating tendencies coming back up again, sort of thwarting my progress forward? So these weeks are a gift, because they allow us to see what it is that's sort of like layering over us and getting in our own way, not only from being more like in alignment and in flow and having deeper fulfillment in our own like mundane microcosm lives, but also in the grander scheme of strengthening our connection and drawing closer into our oneness with the Creator. It's like, do we want to be united with the Creator or not, right? And so when we see these things come up, or when we feel them, yes, we're annoyed, we're like, but if we can, get on the other side of that, get that out of our system, and then realize, okay, very quickly, actually this situation is going to play out. It can play out to help me, or increase me, or magnify me, or grow me in some way if I really embrace the moment and look into it and study it, rather than trying to avoid it, bypass it, pray it away, numb it out. I really loved our portion from the Gospel of Thomas last night. And we were talking about a lot of the concepts that came up in the Zohar videos on the Zohar portions of the week. And this happens almost every time. And it's always so wild to me. But I was just, my jaw was dropping this morning as I was watching the lessons, because it was like, wow, we hit all of these key points last night in the discussion. So Secret Teachings of Jesus was really good. If you guys are interested and you have time to watch it, always super relevant. So our first card out is ego. And that's exactly like, it underscores what we were just saying about how our ego will be triggered over, this week and the weeks to come. And that's a good thing. And we're hoping to see this so that we can look deeper in and take out those weeds so that our garden can flourish, right? So we can choose the kind of thoughts that we cultivate. And we can choose the kind of feelings that we feed and buy into. And when we start to cultivate certain thoughts and we keep feeding into certain feelings, it's like we're getting lost in these soap operas, right? But we don't have to do that. We can take a step back and sever that cord that's pulling us, that's, dragging us into the storyline, and be like, no, this is a new timeline, new chapter, new narrative, new me. We just come through this like very much like Phoenix, death, rebirth, resurrection, Easter, renewal, right? Leaving Egypt. So we don't want to go back to Egypt now that we've left, right? We've already come this far. We're almost to Mount Sinai. So we want to embrace the opportunities to see the ego coming up and rearing its ugly head, so that we can nip that in the bud and we can transform that once and for all, and truly make a shift vibrationally on the inside that's going to remove those last like blocks in the way of like walking through the gates into our next level. All right, what do we have here? Oh my gosh, you guys, you can't make this up. This card is embrace. Embrace. Like, what do I even say when I just said everything and then the card is like, yeah, what she said. So we are embracing these opportunities to pull weeds. Look at these little hands. They're out there pulling weeds. Pull the weeds, pull those thoughts from your mind, pull that consciousness from your mind. One of the key elements to this week is going to be trusting the process, like letting go and surrendering to the process and trusting that things are playing out as they should and as they need to. And the more we lean in, the less resistance we have, the more like it's like it allows for the situation to flow, for the energy to flow through the situation, for God's consciousness and will and handiwork to move through the situation. Love that. So trusting, one of the things that was brought up in the overview of this week's like Torah portions is the idea of the commandment of letting the land lie fallow. Every 7 years, a farmer was, if they were living in accordance with the Hebrew law, they had to let their land lie fallow, and they couldn't live off the land or sell things off the land. They had to let the land totally rest. And this is to demonstrate our trust in the Creator, knowing that we can't do it all ourselves. It's not, everything that we have, the Creator gives us. Even if we're working for it, everything that we earn and we're given is still given to us through the Creator, right? So demonstrating that we understand that it's not all on our, it's not all by our sweat and our effort. We didn't create ultimately, we're vessels and the light moves through us and works through us. So we practice restriction. We give, we let the land lie fallow every 7 years, and we trust that, and that's that 6th year, the year before, we're going to yield enough crop to last that 6th year, the 7th year, and the 8th year. When you start farming again, you have to wait for everything to grow. So it's every week on the 7th day, we observe Shabbat. We restrict our activity and our effort to show that we surrender and trust, and that we know that the Creator carries us the rest of the way. No matter how much effort we put in, it's nothing without the Creator, right? So we rest and we trust and we let go. And we let God, right? And then when we get when we receive, we take a portion of what we receive and we give it in through tithing, right? We can give it to people in need, or we can give it to our source of spiritual nourishment, like a church or some kind of organization like that. I don't personally give to a church because I don't go to a church. I do pay monthly membership fees to the Kabbalah Center, and then I'll pay for classes and things like that. So I kind of consider that the same vibe, but I don't really I consider it above and beyond. When I take a 10% portion out of my paycheck, ideally when I'm being a good girl, I give it where my heart leads me to give. And sometimes that's an organized charity. Sometimes there might be say a natural disaster or something happening that week, or there might be a couple of people overseas that I'm trying to support and sponsor to help them meet their needs, right? To get their just basic needs to survive. So that 10%, that practicing restriction is an act of trust. And so this week is about trust. It's about understanding that, we have to let the land lie fallow at some points and trust those times when we let go, and we trust that God will carry us the way. Oh, I was I thought there were birds squawking and having a time out there. I was this is late for them to be so active. It was the neighbors that I share a wall with walking. Okay, divinity. Oh my God, trusting God, trusting that we will be provided for, guided, kept, protected, provided for, blessed, nurtured, mentored. But the divinity here, it's divine inspiration. It's God has touched our consciousness. God has his hand on our life. It's this feels like our spirit, our destiny. God has his hand on our soul, our spirit, and the direction of our life. And, I was able to look a little bit and answer some of the comments over the last couple of days. And there was one from one of our friends who, it was like from like last week, I think, one of the videos. And it was a day that we were talking about like creation phase 3 and, pushing through that time of uncertainty. But sometimes it's about like being guided and knowing and having the discernment to know, is it time to pivot and move to something else? And or is it time to quit the thing? Or is it time to keep persevering and pushing through? And the person was mentioning that they had felt that their dream was like their will and not God's will. And ultimately, over time, they'd finally decided to kind of let it go. And I was like, yeah, I totally understand that, because when I was in film, working in movies and television and all that was like my lifelong dream and passion. I loved it so much. But then after many years of that, there was a parallel thing happening. I was getting like this strong urge and call to do this, to actually make this channel and to start doing this work and creating this content. And I was posting doing my writing and my photographs, doing it like blog style, but I wasn't making videos yet. And I just kept feeling like I was supposed to do something in the metaphysical space and be like a spiritual teacher or something. But I didn't know what that looked like or how to do it. And over the years, I started getting more and more burnt out by film and less fulfilled by it, but more and more like feeling like an urgency and a pull and a strong call to do this, to leave and do this. And so I was like, I need to leave film. And I need to have the kind of predictability and schedule where I can make this part a routine and really commit to it. And so I left film and I switched careers, and I got a job at a restaurant that does nice dinner, and I only have to work at night, and I'm not there late, and I can do all of these things during the day and after work at night. And so I left film. So in a way, like I did stop doing something, but what I was certain about and what I was confident in and I trusted in was that I did not give up on myself. I knew that the big picture was that maybe, yes, this particular chapter is ending and I'm needing to pivot and reinvent, but I know God has a plan for me. And if I am sincere in my yearning to align with that plan, and I'm actually taking action and stepping out in faith and listening to the way that I'm guided, tuning in, and paying attention to that growing sense of like intensity and urgency and such a strong magnetic pull in this direction, right? So I trusted that God had a plan. Right? I didn't know for sure what it was. I wasn't doubling down on, what I thought was supposed to happen or my expectations, but I knew I was supposed to be, God was going to use me in some way using all of my talents, and I just didn't know how. And so as I have trusted that, I've seen how all of the skills and the experience that I've had have added to and been a part of this, right? But ultimately, what I did not give up on, like I didn't force myself to stay in the film industry until I was just like dead and buried under like my own corpse dust, just burn out. But I didn't give up on myself, and I knew that I had a calling, right? And I knew that God had a plan. And so it was to look for God in the situation. Where is God here that I can't see him? Hide and seek. Where are you hiding? I know that you are just like in between the lines sometimes, or, right where we can't see, it's not obvious, right? But it takes some faith. But after a stretch of faith, you're like, okay, I know God is with me in this situation. I don't know how. I'm honestly going through some pain here, but I'm not going to judge this as being wrong or off or bad. I'm going to be open and believe that I can be led to good things from this point, right? So it's not to say that you never pivot, or chapters never end and new things begin, but you believe that there is a plan, and that the steps will be revealed to you with more clarity when it's time and when you need them to be. And so having that trust and taking those steps, right? It's not, it wasn't easy to explain this to people, or to even feel 100% confident that I'm leaving what on the surface looks like an impressive, or at least, a known, professional sort of thing that has like a trade attached to it, right? Even though in film we think of ourselves as basically elevated carnies or circus folk, it's like we're, people think of you as having a career. Whereas I'm like telling people like, yeah, I'm going to quit doing this so I can go be a server and a mystic. To the average person, they just blow you off as a total flake. But I knew what I was doing, and I knew that God kind of like was making it very clear to me that I needed to go in this direction. So I was just like, well, I'm going to trust this. Now, I mean, do I sometimes wonder? I'm like, did I hear you right? But like, I don't wonder hard, because I know, and I trust that I've been guided. And that feeling of feeling like for years when I hadn't left the industry to start this channel, I had a growing sense of dread and anxiety and urgency. And it was looming over me that I need to be doing this. I need to be doing this. And I had this weird tension about, am I supposed to be in film? Like, I was kind of confused, foggy, dissatisfied. It was unsettling. I was unsettled. And when I left film and started working at the restaurant that I do and started this channel, everything has felt like I've never felt that sense of dread and urgency again. If I get really stressed out about money and thinking about retirement and things like that, I do sometimes. But overall, I do not feel any sort of tug that's like, hey, you need to be going in this direction and you're ignoring this kind of thing. Like, I feel like I'm in the right place. Sometimes I'm like, am I doing this right? What am I missing? Like, is this, or am I where I'm at, where I'm supposed to be? But like, I'm not over arrogant. I'm not presumptuous. I'm still open. Like, I have a teachable mind, open mind. Lead me, guide me, show me. But everything feels right. I feel at peace with what this path that I'm on, what I'm doing. So I hope that is helpful to hear described, like what it felt like when I was on the path of my own chosen dreams, realizing, oh, this isn't my calling, this is my ego wanting to stay here, and it's not fulfilling anymore, and I actually have this urgent pull, this tug leading me in another direction. And so when I followed that direction, which is this, I had relief. It feels expansive. It feels like, I want to make sure that I'm like doing the best I can. But ultimately, I feel like I am headed in the right direction. Release your worries and your fears and let go of that anxiety. Let go of any grudge and sourness and unforgiveness you're still holding on to, because those become like rocks in the river that block the flow, and like that you have to pick up your boat and get out of the river, and like you can't paddle around them kind of thing. Like, it makes for obstacles. So one of the things that has been coming up over this period of time is letting go of grudges, letting go of bitterness, like letting go of anger, like the kind of anger, like not moral outrage, because that's healthy and we need that to be honest and see things and make sure that things are running in the highest good, make sure that we, evil's not running rampant. We need moral outrage, but like anger and hate and vitriol and like, oh, I can't stand that, that kind of like bile, the nut that, we need to let go of that. Make peace with things inside of our hearts, right? If your heart was put on the scale, which my scale keeps going further and further to the side of mercy, but say your heart was being weighed on the scale, is your heart going to be light against the feather, or do you have a lot of malice and sourness and heaviness and density in that heart, right? So let go of the fears, let go of the, neuroses, overthinking, hypervigilance, try to just let go, trust, surrender, accept, and accept what we're working with, right? It's not complacent. It's not giving up. It's not resigning ourselves. It's letting go. Like if you've ever been in a river and you're trying to fight the current and you've got a mind of your own about where you want to go, what direction, you're fighting a losing battle. And even if you're trying to help the river and swim in the river, it's almost like working against you. To enjoy the river, you just need to let go, and it'll just relax, let go, and it'll carry you very gently. So that's what we're doing spiritually. We're letting go. We're still showing up, taking steps, but we're not trying to white knuckle our way through it, trying to control everything, trying to direct everything, right? It's not by our efforts. We're nothing without the Creator anyway. So we show up, we do our best, but isn't it great to kind of let go of that feeling of heavy responsibility? Oh, it all lies on my shoulders. It's all up to me. Oh, so heavy. Don't want to do that. I'm not feeling like carrying that around. No, letting that go, right? Very excited. Very excited for this week. Let's get one more bonus card. I'm feeling there's another card in here. Oh, and this is going to help us align our psyche, our heart, soul, mind, and strength. They're all aligned, right? They're all in a creator consciousness. And we talk about the different kinds of consciousness that categorize us as either in alignment with the creator or out of in dissonance with the creator. And we have different ones. We have effect consciousness versus cause consciousness. The creator's the cause, and we can be the effect, and we want to be more like the cause rather than being affected by everything all the time. There's creator consciousness versus destroyer consciousness, which is, are you building things up? Are you, adding to things, building things, making people feel good, bringing solutions, being proactive? Or are you destroying? Are you tearing down? What kind of consciousness? Are you breaking apart? Are you sowing division? That's destroyer consciousness. Another one that came up that I had forgotten all about, which was part of this morning's Zohar portions, but it was about, do you have random consciousness or divinely ordained consciousness? For instance, if you're looking at life and feeling mad and frustrated and pissed off, then your consciousness, even if you're not aware of it, is assuming that everything's random and that there was some kind of accident that this happened to you, or it's unfair in some way. And the higher consciousness that is in alignment with the creator is that nothing is random, that everything is ordained, that everything is custom, couture, written. The script is written just for you to play out whatever needs to happen to reveal your tikkun so that it can be corrected. That's the whole reason we're in the game in the first place. So it's happening for you. So are you understanding that nothing is random, right? Thinking things are random, that's lower consciousness. That's not as intelligent. That's not as elevated. That's lower ego consciousness, like survival of the fittest, still kind of in the animal world consciousness. Elevated consciousness sees the bigger picture. It has a greater vista, 360 perspective. It has foresight, insight, awareness, hindsight. It's like having a prophetic understanding of the situation. So you're like, okay, nothing is random. Remember all the cards this week and different readings that were like, pay attention to signs and omens, pay attention to synchronicities, pay attention because they matter. Everything is playing out for a reason, for a purpose. It was written into your script for a reason. So what is that reason? That will help align you in your psyche. The other thing is thinking, are my thoughts and feelings matching the kind of vibration that I think I need to have in order to be the person I need to be to align with that path? How about my words and my actions? Are those aligning with those thoughts and feelings? Are those thoughts and feelings cultivating the kind of atmosphere within myself that can produce the right actions? Or am I clouding myself with so many conflicting, unpleasant emotions and thoughts that I'm just like left depleted and in apathy and rebelling against myself? So all of those are things to consider for the week ahead. I hope that this is helpful. I hope this serves you well, and I hope to see y'all again tomorrow for our weekly anchor message, where we will be getting our spiritual assignments for the week coming up. It's kind of more specific than our general weather. If you want to see these posts in advance before you see the videos, you can follow me on Instagram at Liz_Taylor_Magick. My new account on there that will be attached to my other YouTube channel, the other platform name is the Elizabeth Rose. And it's got those little underscores. So it's the_Elizabeth_Rose. So like my author kind of brand name will be Elizabeth Rose. I have been having to fight the SEO nightmare of competing with the name Elizabeth Taylor. It's so long. I'm like, you know what? Why don't all like my Patreon, my Substack will be built on Elizabeth Rose. It'll be better too because anything I publish will be attached to my name and not like a brand, or a company or whatever. So if you are looking for me anywhere else, mostly I post from Instagram. And so I'm most active on Liz Taylor Magick. That's where you'll see like personal updates and stuff like in my stories and whatnot. But my new content stuff is oriented towards Elizabeth Rose. And then if you ever get curious, the channel has its own page, and like my Etsy shop and things like that, like products that I make through Light Love Magic, there's a Light Love Magic account too. All right, you all, that is all for tonight. I'm excited about the coming Substack and Patreon. Those will be the same content, but people are on different platforms. They prefer different ones. So I'm just going to be in both places. I will let you know when I start generating that paid content and get it fully all fleshed out, but it's set up. So I figured out the lay of Substack finally. That's been a big adventure. And apparently it has been crazy confusing for a lot of other people too. That's the predominant, if you look up a video on how to use Substack, everybody's like, oh man, I'm tech savvy and this was confusing, but I've got the lay of the land now. So content will be coming soon. April was just crazy. Lots of holidays, lots of birthdays. Next weekend, we have Mother's Day brunch at the restaurant. So that's a double. I don't usually work, but the summer, dog days of summer are coming, and that gets kind of quieter. So hopefully I can be very prolific in getting this out to you guys. I'm excited about new things and new excuses to delve deep in theological studies, nerding out with y'all. All right, that's it. Peace.